Well, hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I guess maybe good morning to some of you wherever you are, and even good evening if you're joining us somewhere in the world. My name is Chrissy. I'm Director of Product Operations here at LovelySkin, and I will be your host today. We have Colorescience as our special guest talking about the science of sunscreen. Before we get started, I have just a couple of housekeeping tasks that I need to relay to you. First of all, this session is being recorded, so keep that in mind, and the recording will be made available shortly after the presentation is completed. We have about a 45-minute presentation for you today, followed with about 10 to 15 minutes left at the end for Q&A. Speaking of Q&A, we want to hear from you, and Zoom has a Q&A widget available for you to ask any questions you might have about Colorescience or Colorescience sunscreens today. We have moderators standing by behind the scenes from both the Colorescience team and the LovelySkin team, so a very well-educated group of people available today to help navigate any inquiries you have about sunscreens or Colorescience in general. And then there might be some questions that they feel would be good for everyone to learn from. If that's the case, they'll let you know that we're going to answer your question live today during the masterclass session. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our guest. Her name is Alex Lang, and she is the Senior Implementation and Training Manager for Colorescience. With a passion in skin health education, Alex has dedicated the last 10 years to the medical aesthetics and dermatology industry. She's built her passion as an educator while serving as an instructor for one of the nation's top medical aesthetic schools, and has dedicated her career to educating on the importance of skin health, building client and patient relationships, working with aesthetic practices on strategy and sales, and bringing value to her aesthetic practices and community through fun education on social media. It sounds like they couldn't have chosen a better person to present for us today, and I welcome Alex. Alex, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I am so excited to be here with everyone again, wherever you may be joining us from, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, and we'll go ahead and get started. So after today, you'll feel really compelled about the education of sunscreen. There's quite a bit we're going to be reviewing. When prepping for this, I was told that this is quite the ingredient and scientific savvy group. So I am super excited to get down to, just great details on what we can do and of protecting the skin and why it's so important. So after today, you'll understand the importance of why we're protecting our skin in the first place. We'll go through best practices, basics and 101 of sunscreen. We'll go through what the differences are in chemical versus mineral sunscreens, therapeutic pigments, and then we'll review some Colorescience products at the end before we dive into our Q&A. So to first start things out with the importance of skin and sun protection, I've got a few numbers on here and we're going to identify what each of these numbers are. So last month, May, was Melanoma Awareness Month. It's a month dedicated to education on skin cancer. Skin cancer, along, I'm sure, with every other cancer, people think, that's not something that I'll ever get, nothing I'll ever have to deal with until that actually happens. And the really interesting thing about skin cancer is that it's something that we can prevent. So 1 in 5, what does that mean? So 1 in 5 people will develop skin cancer in their lifetime. It's a pretty impactful odd, which is why we talk so much about the importance of protecting our skin 365 days a year. So the number 5, what does 5 represent? Well, having 5 or more burns will double your risk of developing melanoma. Now, I know that one might sound scary. I think back to my childhood, growing up outside of LA and going to the beach and to the pool pretty much year round, and thinking I probably had a summer where I had at least 5 burns. Well, at least this next statistic helps us feel better about that because we know we can protect and prevent. So 86% of melanoma cases are actually preventable. Skin cancer is very interesting because it's the cancer you can see. Over 9,500, or excuse me, it's estimated about 9,500 people are diagnosed with skin cancer every day. That sounds like a pretty intense number. But what's interesting about skin cancers, there are different forms of it. It can be anything from a treatment that you go in for a single in-office visit to have it removed and it's done, or it could be as intense as having things like chemotherapy and radiation. So that's where that number comes into play. It's a big mix of everything. Age 36, and I'm curious if anybody knows this one. So kind of be thinking in your head if you're seeing where I'm going here. So Bob Marley actually passed away at age 36 of melanoma. They actually found it underneath his fingernails. So every single person is able to get it. And that's why we, as skincare professionals, we talk so much about the importance of protecting our skin. And lastly, it's the number one form of cancer, more than all other cancers combined. But the good thing about it, I guess the good thing would take away from all this is that it's the most preventable and most treatable form of cancer. And while it's important to get a skin check of your skin by a professional at least once a year, something that you can be on the lookout for is taking a look at what your skin is like on, a daily basis when you're taking a shower or weekly, paying attention to signs. So some signs to look out for: if you see a lesion, this could be a raised mole or a large spot on your body somewhere. If there's any asymmetry, if it's not matching one side to the other, if the border is uneven and has different shapes to it, if there are multiple different colors inside of it, that's something to be on the lookout for. Diameter, if it's, we like to say about bigger than a pencil eraser on the back of a pencil, about that size. And then evolving, is it changing? Is something large and new out of nowhere, or has something that's been the same your whole life all of a sudden changed? Now, none of these are to scare anybody. It's just to bring awareness to, what to be on the lookout for, and why it's important to work with our skincare professionals because they'll help us to understand what to be, monitoring and what is completely fine with our skin. So what are some other negative effects of not wearing sunscreen? Of course, we want to make sure we're impacting your life. We want to make sure that we're preventing any form of skin cancer from forming. But on top of that, there are also other reasons to wear our sunscreen. By not wearing it, we can develop premature aging. We can see, wrinkles and textured skin and things like that forming. Of course, we can get sunburns. No one likes dealing with a sunburn. They're very uncomfortable. It can lead to skin discoloration. So you may notice that you have hyperpigmentation or you have brown spots forming. If you have long-lasting sun damage and skin discoloration, sometimes that can result in the opposite effect called hypopigmentation, meaning you actually have your pigmentation stop forming in certain areas on your skin. You'll notice maybe sometimes on people's arms, it's often with people who work outside on a daily basis, they'll have they look like white freckles. And the thing about that is there's not a ton we can do to put the pigmentation back in the skin, but we can do something about it if you have hyperpigmentation, you've got those brown spots forming. So that's why, we're going to try and prevent all that from the first place. We're going to protect our skin. It can lead to dry, leathery skin. It can actually cause our skin to be irritated and sensitive. If you're someone who has rosacea or skin sensitivity, being in the sun, especially unprotected, can definitely cause it to be more sensitive and have a reaction. It can lead to scarring, or if you already have a scar, it can make that scar harder to heal because we're not protecting it. And then what's interesting too is that too much sun exposure or overly dosed unprotected sun exposure can actually damage our immune system. And people hear that and think, well, aren't I supposed to get sun exposure so that I can get my vitamin D? That's correct. You can actually get the sufficient amount of vitamin D that you need with your skin being protected with sunscreen in about 15 minutes a day of sun exposure. And that is with your skin being protected. So if you ever hear any friends or family saying, oh no, I'm getting my vitamin D, you can say, do you know what? Perfect. Let's do that. Let's protect your skin while we're doing that as well. So some best practices when it comes to sunscreen or SPF, you always want to look for an SPF of 30 or higher, anything from 30 to 50, and we'll go through some of that in a little bit more. I like to call application the 3-finger rule. You may hear people say 2-finger, and we'll walk through application 2 in a moment, but essentially you want to take your 3 fingers and you want to apply a swipe from the bottom all the way to the top, and then apply that to your full face and get down to your neck as well. So that's a general rule of thumb of how much to apply. If you're thinking, how much do I need for my full body? If I am going swimming and I need to cover my entire body in sunscreen, the general rule of thumb is about an ounce of sunscreen. That could look like the size of a shot glass. And people hear that and think, wow, that's a lot of sunscreen. But if you put on lotion on your body every day, that's probably the amount of lotion that you're using as well. Reapplication every 2 hours. That's really important. A lot of people think, do I really need to apply my sunscreen every 2 hours? And yes, we do, because as we wear sunscreen, it starts to dissipate based on, the environment around us. So every 2 hours on general, if you're swimming 40 to 80 minutes, it just depends on what the sunscreen is able to protect against with that water and sweat resistancy. So you want to make sure you're looking for that water and sweat resistancy. Areas that often are missed: lips, ears, back of neck, scalp, and around the eyes. Around the eyes is a very common one because sometimes our eyes are sensitive to sunscreen, and we'll go through an option that is perfect for sensitive and contact lens wearing patients. It's also important that we're protecting our actual eyes from the sun. We can't put sunscreen on our eyes, so using sunglasses that have UV protection. And then, anything we can do to cover our body to give it extra protection, it's just kind of taking that extra measure to make sure we're keeping it protected. For myself, I garden every day this time of year in my yard, and I don't want to get any sunspots, so I have my sunscreen and I have a big hat that I wear while I'm outside. And then to give myself a tan, I just do spray tans because then I have a healthy tan. We want to make sure that you're using sunscreen every single day, even when you're driving, even if it's cloudy or raining outside. If UV rays can penetrate our skin and get into our skin, they can absolutely penetrate through clouds. So even if it's raining or cloudy outside, the sun and the rays are still above it, they're penetrating through. So it's important that you're wearing sunscreen every single day. What's interesting about windows, so I work in front of my computer screen, I work in front of a big window. Most windows in homes only prevent about 50% of UVA rays. And then our cars, depending if you have a tint on it or not, may not give very much protection. There's a really interesting photo, and I'd encourage you to try and search this, but there's a truck driver where he spent his entire, career long haul truck driving, and his left side of his face looked like it was 20 years older than the right side of his face because he had all that sun exposure on the left side of his face for that long. So it's important that even if you're going to be in your car or inside, that we're wearing sunscreen. Don't rely on sunscreen in your makeup or moisturizers. Typically, those are about an SPF of 15, and there's not enough of it or not enough being applied to give you the recommended amount. So I always recommend wearing a sunscreen underneath. And if your makeup at least has sunscreen in it, you can apply that on top. If your moisturizer has it, you would put that on before you put your sunscreen on. And we'll go through application and order of that later on. If you're looking for mineral actives, the products we'll be talking about today, we're a mineral-based company. So those mineral actives are zinc and titanium. That's what you want to look for. And then the peak sun damage hours are 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So I'm going to test some knowledge here. We're going to kind of go through, we'll have some polls coming up throughout the session today, just to kind of keep you guys on your toes, taking down notes and seeing where we're going. So I just reviewed this. Let's see how everybody was paying attention right from the beginning. So what are the 2 mineral actives in broad spectrum sunscreens? We'll go ahead and see that poll come up. We'll give you guys some time to answer that. So what are those 2 mineral actives in broad spectrum sunscreen? All right, here it comes. So we've got the first answer to choose from: zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. The second answer, avobenzone and homosalate. The third answer of octosalate and octocrylene. So go ahead and pick your answer of choice. And then we'll go ahead and let's launch those results because I want to see how everyone was doing with that. All right, look, everybody. That was a good first test into our knowledge of sunscreen. So great job, everybody. That was perfect. So now let's get into our sunscreen 101. So first we want to identify what UV rays are. So we have UVA and UVB rays. UVA stands for UV aging rays. These penetrate deeper into the skin. You won't always see the damaging effect of these results right away. Sometimes this takes some time to see it, whether it's resulting in sunspots. That's why if, let's say you pick up running and you start running every single day when it's sunny out, and whether you're wearing, if you're not wearing your sunscreen, and say a week or 2 later, all of a sudden you have freckles or new sunspots on your hands and on your arms, those aging rays sometimes take some time to start showing. And that's why they can be so dangerous, is because we don't necessarily feel it happening right away. whereas UVB rays stand for burning. Those penetrate more superficial into our skin, into our epidermis. And what's interesting about burning rays is that sometimes it can take 2 to 6 hours for those to start developing. So you may be getting a burn, but not quite seeing it yet. That's why where sometimes you'll come home from the beach or the pool and you don't feel burnt or look burnt, and a few hours later you're like, oh wow, I'm nice and red now. And sometimes it can get worse for up to a full day after that sun exposure. So those are the differences between those different rays, and it's important to protect against both of those, and we'll get into that in one moment. So let's go ahead and move into first what to look for when protecting against UVB. So anytime you see an SPF number on a product, it'll say SPF 50, SPF 30, whatever that is showing the protection you have against UVB, those burning rays. So let's kind of break this down. If the SPF, it stands for sun protection factor, this number is based on how long it takes your skin to burn. So if it takes your skin unprotected 10 minutes to burn, by applying an SPF 30, you'll now have 300 minutes of protection. Let's break that down again. So let's say your skin burns in 1 minute of having exposure without any sunscreen. If you apply an SPF 30, you'll then have 30 minutes of protection. Now, the only problem with this is that most people don't know exactly how long it takes for their skin to start to burn. And that's why you'll generally hear people say, reapply your sunscreen every 2 hours, and more often if you are swimming or sweating. What this also protects against are photons. That is the energy exchange that's happening to our skin. So this is why we recommend an SPF 30 or higher. So let's say if we are looking at, photons, that energy exchange that are damaging the skin, if you don't have any sunscreen, all of those will cause damage. An SPF of 15 gives about 93% protection, which sounds like a lot, but unfortunately it's not quite sufficient enough. Going just from an SPF 15 to a 30, so just double, will actually increase that to 97% protection, and an SPF 50 being about 99% protection. So anytime you hear of an SPF over 50, oftentimes that's about like marketing and things like that, where, if you're using above a 50, you're getting at least that 50 protection. So that's where you'll hear, make sure you're using an SPF 30 or higher. Personally, I like to use a 50, but there are some products that are really fantastic that are still SPF 30 or 35, and we'll actually go through some of those as well. So now that we understand what SPF, what that means, and that's protecting against UVB rays, now we get to look at what's protecting our skin against UVA rays, or what's detected in that. So to protect against UVA and to be able to control that protection, or be able to rate what that protection is, that is the PA rating that you will see on sunscreens. Now, it originally started as PPD. This was originated in Japan. It stands for persistent pigment darkening. Now, the reason why it was adapted, the US adapted this into a PA rating, is because the conversion from different countries and the actual measurement got a little bit sticky in the mix from different country to country. So we came out with the US came out with the PA rating scale, and you'll see anywhere from a single plus on a P or a quadruple plus on a P. And essentially what that means is a single plus on a P gives you some protection against UVA rays. A double plus gives you moderate protection, and then a triple plus will give you, the best out of those three. However, in more recent years, we've developed a quad plus, and that gives you the ultimate protection against UVA rays. And it's actually can be pretty hard to test and get that approval for a quad PA rating. We always want to make sure we're looking for broad spectrum. That means you're getting both UVB and UVA protection. That's why you'll hear your skincare professional say, make sure to look for a broad spectrum product. It may just say broad spectrum SPF 50, or it may say broad spectrum SPF 50 with a triple PA. So it just depends on what you're getting there. But if we're looking for broad spectrum, then we know we're getting that protection from both UVB and UVA. So let's go ahead and we're going to test our knowledge again. So how often should you be reapplying your sunscreens? Let's go ahead and get that poll up here. So the first answer, only if you've been in water or sweating. Second answer, you don't need to reapply your sunscreen. Or the third answer, every 2 hours. So we'll go ahead and let everyone pick their choice there. And I saw this question, I hear this question all the time, like how often do I really need to reapply my sunscreen? So let's see how everyone's doing. And then when those are all done, let's go ahead and get those poll answers up here. Awesome, everybody here is just right on it. So I do hear people ask me this, and as you know, I'm a licensed master esthetician. I've worked as an instructor and I've worked in skincare for quite some time. And people ask me all the time, do I really need to reapply my sunscreen every 2 hours? That's the best that you can do. So if we're looking at good, better, best is reapplying your sunscreen every 2 hours, whether you're home working or whether, you know, whatever it is that you're doing. If you're outside, inside, that's the best practice. What I also would let my own patients know, you know, if you're applying your sunscreen in the morning and then you pick 3 more times throughout the day to reapply your sunscreen, that's the better option. We want to look for better or best. Ideally, best, we're applying every 2 hours. But, you know, of course, we can get away with our days. And before we know it, it's been 4 hours and we've been crammed at work, and we're going to go ahead and reapply our sunscreen before we have our lunch. So as long as you're giving yourself that, you know, 3 times a day, ideally every 2 hours, then that's going to be the next best thing. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into what the differences are between chemical and physical sunscreens. So physical sunscreens, also known as mineral sunscreens, those are the ones that I'll be talking about today. Colorescience is a mineral-based company, but there are multiple ways to protect the skin. So what you're getting from a chemical sunscreen defense, it works kind of like a sponge. So it's absorbing those UV rays. It actually turns those UV rays into heat and scatters them. You'll see ingredients like oxybenzone, avobenzone, octisalate, octaprilene, homosalate, and octinoxate. Those are very common chemical sunscreen ingredients. These tend to be really easy to rub into the skin. They tend to you know, not have a white cast or leave any residue on the skin. I'm excited to walk you guys through a little bit later a mineral option that is new that we've launched that can do this. But that's what you're getting when you're using a chemical sunscreen. And then the difference between that and a mineral or a physical sunscreen is that a physical sunscreen it kind of works like a shield, where it's reflecting those UV rays so that it is kind of bouncing them off the skin. Physical sunscreens sit on the skin surface, they don't absorb into the skin, and they block those UV rays. And again, those actives are zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. Mineral sunscreens are great for sensitive skin and really great for anybody with acneic or problematic skin as well. So let's go ahead and look at what a lot of people depict at being a mineral sunscreen. A lot of people think, all right, if I'm going to use a mineral or I'm going to use a zinc-based sunscreen, this is how I'm going to look. You know, this is something we want you to feel this protected, but we don't want you to look like you have a completely body full of white cast. So we at Colorescience, of course, are going to always provide options that are going to, you know, make you feel good about using them. You're going to be excited to use them. Something that every single person every day and everywhere can use. So now we're going to get into our next question. So what is the minimum SPF you should use? And I gather everyone's probably going to get this one correct as well. So let's go ahead and see what that answer is. So is it a minimum of 15, 50, 30, or there is no minimum? So let's go ahead and take a look at what that is. And while everybody's answering that, I want to reiterate, you know, if you do use a moisturizer or a makeup with sunscreen in it, typically it's about a 15, and you're not applying as much as you would be sunscreen. So it's important to remember, you know, that's why let's pull up the answer here. An SPF 30. And do you know what? I love that a few of you said an SPF 50 too. So I love hearing that. You know, any sunscreen is going to be better than no sunscreen, but when we're looking at what to apply, a 30 or higher is ideal. And extra clap for those that said 50. We recommend at least 30, but 50 is very, very helpful as well. Okay. So let's talk about therapeutic pigments. We like to call these pigments with purpose. So what we look for when we're protecting the skin, there's more than just UV rays to be mindful of. HEV light, blue light, high energy visible light, something that we're all in front of right now with our devices. It is becoming more studied and more prevalent that we get a lot of damage from HEV light. There was actually a university that studied, and they found that there's about 60% of people being active in front of their devices more than previous, and they're spending on average about 6 hours a day in front of devices. So let's do some math here. what they found through studying is that 6 hours a day for 5 days, so your Monday through Friday work week, in front of HEV light without any protection, that has the same damaging effect to our skin as being out in midday sun for 25 minutes unprotected. The first time I heard that, I was blown away because I work in front of my computer all day. I am in front of a TV or a phone other times of the day, and I probably make up that 30 hours of screen time in maybe 2 or 3 days. And what I also know about my skin is if I go out in the sun right now without any protection on, I will start to turn pink. I'm going to start getting a burn. So essentially every 3 days, I'm getting those same damaging effects. HEV light has been linked to have similar damage that we see from UVA rays, so those aging rays. A lot of people are noticing that they get hyperpigmentation or even melasma, that hormonal pigmentation is triggered by their devices. So that's why you'll hear people say, even if you're not going outside today, go ahead and put your sunscreen on. It's a best practice to be in the habit of using it every day, but we're also going to be protecting your skin from other environmental aggressors. So what are iron oxides and how are they protecting our skin? Well, iron oxides are great. They're added into many cosmetics. They're added into skincare products, into sunscreens. They add wonderful color to them, but they also defend the skin against blue light. So there are 3 different iron oxides: black, yellow, and red. And the combination of these gives the skin just a really great amount of protection from HEV light. Iron oxides, they are naturally reoccurring. However, whenever they're put into cosmetics or into sunscreens or skincare, they are created synthetically and they are created in a controlled environment so that we can avoid any heavy trace metals getting into that from the natural compounds. So this is how they're actually protecting the skin. If we look at the light spectrum, we have, our UVA and UVB that don't, they penetrate a little bit lighter into the skin, whereas HEV, their wavelengths, they start to penetrate even deeper into the skin. And you can see that zinc oxide on its own actually gives about 38% protection against HEV light, which is awesome. So if you're using a product that at least has zinc in it, you're getting protection against HEV light. However, if you combine that with the 3 iron oxides, yellow, red, and black, you're getting optimal protection that's even going into infrared radiation. Infrared radiation is that heat that can also cause damage to our skin. If you have hormonal pigmentation, you'll notice that being around heat, maybe a sauna, being out in the sun when it's warm, that'll activate that pigmentation. So by using a product that has iron oxides, that's going to be very beneficial for your skin. So that's a little bit more about those pigments with purpose. So again, you don't have to worry about using products that will leave your skin with a full white cast. You can use things that make you feel and look like yourself, but giving you optimal environmental protection. All right, so let's get into our next question. So you don't have to use, it's a true or false, you don't have to use sunscreen when it's cloudy or raining. Let's go ahead and get everybody an option to answer that question. So either true, you don't have to use sunscreen when it's cloudy or raining, or false, you don't have to use sunscreen when it's cloudy or raining. All right, and when those are all done, let's go ahead and pop those results up. Awesome, perfect, everybody got that correct. It's false. We do need to make sure that we're using sunscreen, even if it's cloudy or raining. We know that those UV rays can penetrate through them. You may notice that your skin won't burn as quickly, but you still can absolutely get damage to your skin. And just general as a best practice, it's important to wear sunscreen 365 days a year. So let's dive into some of the science behind Colorescience before we get into the product. So what makes Colorescience we like to call ourselves the leader in minerals of who we are. So when you're using our products, not only are you getting, of course, UVA and UVB protection, but you're also getting defense from pollution, HEV, blue light, infrared radiation, that heat that can be very damaging. And on top of that, a lot of our products have additional antioxidants in them. They've got skin calming ingredients and moisturization. A topic that I like talking about is pollution. Oftentimes, we don't realize that pollution can be very damaging to our skin. The particulate matter that pollution creates, it's so small and it can penetrate the skin very easily. And it almost just exacerbates any skin concern that you could already have. So by using a product that's going to protect your skin against pollution, that's that's one of the best things you can do. This time of year, we tend to experience wildfires. And while it's just as important to be using things like air purifiers to protect, the insides of our bodies, we want to make sure we're protecting the outside of our body, our skin's largest organ. So here's another example of what different types of environmental aggressors, how they penetrate the skin, and how they can damage the skin. So we've got our UVB and our UVA rays, our burning and our aging that goes a little bit deeper, our blue light that goes even further into the skin, all the way down to infrared radiation that penetrates very easily. And then again, we've got pollution kind of surrounding everything that's just exacerbating any issue. So if your skin gets irritated by weather changing or anything like that, it'll happen with pollution as well. And pollution's tough because sometimes we can't avoid it depending on, I live in an area that snows and gets really cold in the winter, and we'll just have an inversion cap for, weeks on end until a storm comes through and blows it away. So I know that every time I'm stepping out, I just have pollution getting, into my skin. So I love that I can use products that are giving it protection from that. But it really can exacerbate any concern, whether you are dealing with dryness, hyperpigmentation, fine lines and wrinkles, redness and acne. We also know that the sun can lead to skin cancer, of course, but it's important that we're protecting our skin from all of these other types of conditions that can result in environmental damage. So what makes Colorescience sunscreen so wonderful? Well, what we're looking at here, this is an example of our EnviroScreen technology. So over on the left-hand side, you are looking at a standard zinc particle, and that zinc has a single coating around it. And you can see that these little kind of spider-looking things, it's capturing those. Those are representing free radicals. It's capturing them so that it can prevent them from causing damage to your skin. However, because it's a single coating, they can escape and cause some damage to our skin. So when we realized that problem, we created a solution. We created the very first triple coating of that zinc, where we're creating a complete homogenistic encapsulation. Essentially, we're stopping that damage before it could even happen. So we took this to the test. We took a placebo that had no UV protection on it, a standard single coated zinc and our triple coated zinc, and we exposed it to UV. What we found was that our triple coated zinc was able to give more than 2/3 the amount of protection from free radicals forming. We were so happy to see that because of course we want to give superior protection to everyone's skin. And then we did that exact same thing, but exposed it to just pollution. And this really caught our attention. And like I was saying before, that particulate matter size, it's so small and it can penetrate so easily that, with having a really wonderful sunscreen, we're not always protecting our skin against pollution. It may be, not everybody may experience heavy levels of pollution, but depends on where you live, your commute, your lifestyle, or family's lifestyles. It's something that we can't always avoid. So being able to protect our skin from it is fantastic. And beyond protecting the skin, we also say, Colorescience, we play well in the sandbox with other brands because we actually want to boost the other products that you're using. Antioxidants are fantastic for the skin. When I worked as an esthetician in practice, the first 3 things I wanted my patients on were, well, I guess first 2, I'd say sunscreen and antioxidant. If I could get a third, I'd get a retinol in there. But if you're using an antioxidant like a vitamin C serum or even a vitamin E serum, and you're not putting a sunscreen on top of that, we're basically taking that product and throwing it in the trash because it will be dissipated by the environment, by anything around you. So it's important that we're actually protecting the ingredients and protecting those awesome products that you're investing in your skin. We're protecting those too. So we can actually help boost vitamins E and C by 200% and green tea extract by 500% when you're layering Colorescience on top of those products. Okay, so let's get our next question in here. So in addition to UVA and UVB protection, what else does Colorescience EnviroScreen technology protect against? So we've got either blue light, pollution, infrared radiation, or all of the above. So we'll go ahead and let everybody select their answer there. And then let's go ahead and pop up those answers. Awesome, perfect. And everyone who selected blue light and pollution, you're absolutely right. It does protect against blue light and pollution. It also does protect against that infrared radiation. Remember that heat that can also be very damaging, especially for those of you who have hormonal pigmentation. So it does protect against all of the above, which is fantastic to know that when you're using our products that you're going to get optimal total environmental protection.
Alex.
Yeah.
I was going to save this for the Q&A at the end, but we've had a couple of people ask, and so I thought it was very timely. We've had a couple of people ask about your perspective on red light, infrared light devices at home and how they cause HEV light.
Awesome. So that's a great question. So home devices, so there's a few things here because you can actually get treatment done by blue light and red light and green light. There are a lot of LED lights that are on the market that people use to help improve their skin. Red light is a great therapy for improving collagen. Green light is great for hyperpigmentation, and blue light's been linked to help with bacterial. So anybody with acne, that's a great product, or that's a great option to use. It's important when you're looking at home devices that you're checking to see how it's emitting the light. So what you typically want to look for is the lights are like LED based, because that will actually help your skin, where if it's that high energy visible light, that's what can damage the skin. So what's nice to know about your home devices too is that typically they're not going to be as aggressive as something that would be in an office. So if you're using an at-home device, that's something that you're using for, acne spots or things like that. That's going to help with your skin. And if you're worried about it, you can I was going to say you could use your sunscreen, but really because it's an at-home device, that's going to be something that it can help improve your skin. It's going to take a really, really long time of using it daily to see those results, but that's typically why it's helpful to work with your skincare professional, go into their office and take, their recommendations of what we're going to do to treat, or excuse me, what they're going to do to treat your skin. So I hope that answers it. It's kind of a 2-point answer because it really depends on what the energy is coming from. But I would suggest when you're looking for red or blue light therapies, look for something that's LED based so that we're not getting that damaging effect of the high energy visible. Awesome. Thank you for asking. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and review some products, and then we can get into some more of the Q&A because I know everyone is really excited about some of the questions they had there. So the first category of products we're going to review are our apply category. So we've got 2 different products, our Face Shield Flex and our new Face Shield No-Show. There we go, you can see it there now. So these are what we call our apply category. So they have different finish options to choose for your desired look. They're 100% mineral, chemical-free protection using zinc and titanium. All formulas are oil-free, fragrance-free, hypoallergenic, and water-resistant for up to 40 minutes. We have our patented EnviroScreen technology that's protecting against that total environmental aggressors, UVA, B, blue light, pollution, and infrared. And then they actually contain antioxidants and skincare-focused ingredients to help improve the overall health and appearance of your skin over time. So let's start out with our Face Shield Flex. This is a very popular product. It's something that if you've already used it, you are probably already a huge fan of it. So when you dispense the product out, you can see I have our medium shade here. It comes out white, and when you look at it up close, it's got little dots and flecks of color. And as you blend the product in, it starts to tone adapt to match your own skin tone. And what's great about this product is that it can provide buildable coverage. So you can apply 1 layer and have, just kind of natural looking skin. You can apply 2 or 3 to have more full coverage. I typically apply 1 to 2 layers depending on how much coverage I feel like my skin needs. But it's got this great tone adaptive technology. Those little flecks and dots that you see, they're actually encapsulated iron oxide. So sometimes you'll notice that when you're blending the product in, you may see a little bit of yellow or red or black start to blend out first before it tone adapts to your own skin tone. Those are those iron oxides that we talked about, which are giving the skin, great color matching properties, but they're also defending the skin against HEV and blue light. It is an SPF 50 quad PA rated product. All mineral zinc. It's a water and sweat resistant for 40 minutes. And then of course we do have that HEV protection in it. Based on which shade you're using, our lighter shades will have a little bit less HEV protection because they don't contain as many iron oxides. But you can see our deep shade will give 92.5% protection from HEV, which is awesome. And here is a great example of what that layering effect can look like, whether you're applying 1, 2, or 3 layers of the product. I would recommend waiting maybe 30 seconds in between each application just to give it a moment to really settle on your skin, and then apply your next layer for more coverage. So there is our Face Shield Flex. What's great about it is you're not having to rely on the sunscreen in your makeup. You can now use makeup that has, or excuse me, you can now use sunscreen that has makeup in it. So you're not having to rely on your makeup for sunscreen, but you can now use a sunscreen that kind of has makeup in it. My sisters have had my nieces and nephews using these products, and they absolutely love that they can start using color products that look natural on their skin, that are protecting their skin without introducing makeup that isn't giving their skin protection. So, and of course, there's nothing wrong. You know, we love makeup. We love all the things that it can do, and you can absolutely layer it on top of these products. But for me, I love having an option that gets me ready really quick in the morning, and it has its color and protection and everything all in one. So now let's review our No-Show. This is our newest product. We are so excited about it. It is a mineral untinted sunscreen that is completely sheer, and we'll get into why it was so hard to develop this in a moment. But this is a completely untinted formula. It's very hydrating. It's ideal for anybody who wants an untinted all mineral option, but they've had a hard time blending in the product in the past that has maybe provided a white cast. It's ideal for anybody who like to wear sunscreens, but they find maybe some of them are heavy or sticky, and they're looking for a more lightweight option. So let's review why this is so helpful. So one, you're getting all the same benefits that you would get out of our other sunscreens. So you're getting that total environmental protection. You still have that EnviroScreen technology. We have still, an SPF 50 with a quad PA rating, water and sweat resistant for 40 minutes. It's also infused with antioxidants, soothing ingredients, and then hydration. When you're blending this product in, you'll notice it feels like you're just blending a lotion in. It feels so lightweight, and it goes on the skin so easily. Because it's lightweight, however, I still recommend, you still want to do that full 3-finger rule of application, so you're getting enough protection for your skin. Typically with Colorescience products, you can see them going on. So this one, you really want to make sure you're using enough product, since we don't see it going on, but that's the point of it. So why is it that sometimes mineral sunscreens provide a white cast? Well, this is why. So on the left-hand side, you can see over here, typically mineral particles, there's 2 reasons why they provide a white cast. One, the particle is too large. So when you're blending the product in, that starts to scatter and it causes reflection, which results in a visible white cast. The other reason is that they're smaller particles, but they don't have anything from keeping them from, clumping together. We call that agglomeration. So as that starts to agglomerate or starts to clump together, it results in even more scatter. So it causes excess scatter, again, resulting in that visible white cast. So the solution that we came up with was a stabilized particle that had a coating that's actually preventing them from clumping together or having that agglomeration. Kind of think like two opposite ends of the, two the same ends of a magnet, how those won't stick together. That's how this is working. So it'll stay stabilized on the skin. So as you're blending the product, what it actually does is it reduces scatter so that it results in 0 white cast. So let me go ahead and show you. And it truly is an untinted product. There is 0 tint to it. Because of that, this product does not contain iron oxides, but what we do know is that zinc on its own does give the skin protection against HEV. So this has a 38% protection against HEV. So it's completely white, and then it blends into the skin so quickly and gives 0 white cast, blending in immediately, which we were so happy to. What a lot of people don't realize is that we actually spent 3 years developing this product because we knew it needed to be a suitable option for everyone, and that it needed to be that SPF 50, quad PA rated, and water resistant. And we're so happy that we were finally able to launch this product. So we've got our apply category. Those are the first products we're putting on in the morning, either, a Flex or a No-Show. You can actually blend these products together. Important to know that it will make the Flex a little bit more sheer when you're applying it. So if you want a little bit less coverage, that's great, but this is so wonderful. I actually mix mine together and I love it. But then we need to talk about that reapplication piece. Oftentimes, our sunburns come because we forgot to reapply, or maybe we missed some areas. And a lot of people, when they get ready in the morning, I have makeup on. I don't want to put another liquid on top of my face. I spend all that time getting ready. I don't want to have to redo that. So the brush is such a great, convenient way to reapply your sunscreen. What I want to do is I want to walk you through how you would activate your brush. So let me grab, I've got a new one right here.
Hey,
So when
Alex.
oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I kind of want to go back a step because we had a couple of people ask when you were showing the No-Show sunscreen, if you could demonstrate exactly what you meant earlier by the 3-finger rule.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, yes. Thank you for asking. Okay. So when I am applying the product, I am swiping it and it's going to, you'll see it drip down. I'm swiping it on my 3 fingers. And then I'm going to blend that product in and then apply it to my full face. And you can see already as I'm blending it into my hands, it's blending really, really well. So I'll just go ahead. I don't want to waste it. I'll just apply it onto the backs of my hands. So that's our 3-finger rule. So you want to use a swipe on all 3 fingers. You'll hear some people say 2 fingers, but I always just want to make sure somebody's getting enough protection. So that's why I say that 3-finger. That'll be enough to get your face and then even down onto your neck as well. Awesome. Thank you. That's perfect. So now my hands are really hydrated. So let me wipe those off so I can show you our brush. So when we are applying our brush, and I have a new one around here somewhere, so I can show you exactly how to activate it. Here we go. So when you get your new brush, it will have a rubber band around the base. You want to make sure to remove that rubber band. Go ahead and slide the sleeve back up. Put the cap on, turn your product upside down, and you're going to give it a few firm taps. You can do this on a hard surface as well. I typically go on the back of my hand, and the first time you use it, you may need to tap it a couple of extra times. But what you want to look out for is that there is a little cloud, you can see that even through my blurred background, a little cloud of smoke coming out of your brush. And then when you are applying the product, you want to apply it in a downward circular motion. This is what's going to give you the recommended dose of protection. We're going to go downward in a circular motion, and you're going to go around your face 2 full times. Now you saw that big cloud of product swipe out when I went across it, but as I'm applying it, you can see it's not disrupting any makeup or anything that I already had on my face. I can even get it over my eyelids, my ears. You can apply it along your scalp line. It's just such a great product for reapplication. And what's great about this, we do have 4 different shades. However, they'll feel pretty sheer on the skin and you won't feel like you have a ton of product going on. It kind of ends up being a double-edged sword because our product, you don't necessarily see it going on, but we know it's protecting our skin. So that's why I recommend that downward circular motion around the face 2 full times. If you are somebody who uses a dry shampoo and you want to use it for your hair, I would have a separate one for your scalp line than your face so that you don't get those chemicals from your dry shampoo onto your skin. But anybody can use this. It's great for, men, women, children, babies. Once babies get that go ahead from their doctors around 6 months, this is a great product for them, especially maybe if we have babies who are having, a little longer time for hairs to start growing in. My husband keeps one of these in his golf bag, and it's great because he reapplies his sunscreen. He doesn't have to take off his glove. It's not messy. It doesn't affect his hands or his swing. And then he doesn't get in trouble for having a sunburn when he gets home. So it works out for everyone. The brush is fantastic. It's an 80-minute water resistance, which is really, really incredible with this product. Here we have those steps again on how to apply it. Typically we say, tap, flick the brush to make sure that you have powder coming out and then apply. I pretty much every single time apply it, give it a couple of taps, make sure that my powder is coming out, and then I apply it onto my face and pretty much everywhere else that I need to. So it's such a fantastic product for reapplication and a really, really great water and sweat resistance of 80 minutes. So now we have our last product that we're reviewing, which is our Total Eye 3-in-1. So this product, we do have 4 different shades of this as well. What's great about this is it's sunscreen for the eyes, but it has the added benefit of being able to treat your eyes. It's like your daytime eye cream, while being able to also protect them. It is ophthalmologist approved and tested. You can use it on the under and upper eyelid area. Anybody who has sensitive eyes, sensitive skin, if you're a contact lens wearer, this is a great product for you. And this product, I say a little bit of it really does last you quite some time. A little goes a long way. You only need about half of a pump for both of your eyes. So about half of a pump right there. And when you're applying the product, you're going to do a couple of dots on your under eyelid, a couple of dots on upper, and you're going to use the actual product itself, the cooled metal tip, to blend it in. And then take your ring finger, because that's going to be the most gentle on our face, and just gently blend the product in. This is going to give your eyes total protection. It's also like your 8 hours of sleep in a bottle, because this product is helping with dark circles. It's helping with even hyperpigmentation around the eyes. It's helping with our skin laxity, wrinkles. It's helping with dehydration lines. We've got a great ingredient called Phytomoist. It's a plant-based hyaluronic acid that it's been shown to be about 4 times more hydrating than hyaluronic acid on its own. So it's so beneficial with those dehydration lines that we see around the eyes, but also just giving it the support that it really needs. So what this product is doing for you, like I said, it's your 8 hours of sleep in a bottle. So you're getting correction, protection, and then you're actually addressing those eye concerns, darkness, puffiness, fine lines and wrinkles, pretty much anything that you could have a concern around your eye area. But the great thing is it's meant for upper eyelid use as well. A lot of eye creams are only approved for under eyelid, and that's because our eyes, the skin around it is about 5 to 10 times thinner than the rest of the skin on our face. So it's important we use really delicate ingredients, and that's exactly what we've done here, is cherry-picked delicate ingredients that are effective in treating the area and protecting it, but also gentle enough on such delicate thin skin. So let's look through a couple of photos, and then we'll get our last question, and we'll get into Q&A. So here's an example of total eye on bare skin on the left-hand side, and then immediately after we've applied it, and you can see how it just instantly brightened this patient's face, covered her dark circles, helped her to look more well-rested. And then we see this patient over here, bare skin at, baseline at week 0. And then after 4 weeks of continued use, also bare skin, just looking and seeing how much more well-rested her eyes look and how much brighter and more lively they look as well. So great long-term and immediate results with this product that is giving you SPF 35 for your full eye area. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our last poll question up here. What benefits does Total Eye 3-in-1 give? So first answer corrects dark circles, puffiness, and skin laxity. Second, SPF 35. Third, upper and lower eyelid color correction and protection. And the last one, all of the above. Let's go ahead and get that one up here. And then let's get our poll answers up. Awesome. Good job, everybody. I'll know if I get to do this with you again, I'll get some more tricky questions out there. But let's go ahead and get into our Q&A portion. I can go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and we can go from there.
Awesome. I do want to mention, since Total Eye was the last product you talked about, everyone listening and watching, it's a LovelySkin staff favorite. And anytime somebody runs out of Total Eye at our office, they come in very sad that morning, and they with their heads down, and they're like, I ran out of Total Eye today. And so staff favorite, everyone should have one of those, definitely.
Absolutely. It's a favorite among many.
Okay, we have a lot of really good questions, and we still have some questions coming in.
Okay, perfect.
So we'll try to get to as many as possible. One question that kind of came up a few times is the shelf life of sunscreens. Kind of a two-part question. Is a sunscreen still effective after its expiration date? And maybe you could explain a little bit about the shelf life of Colorescience sunscreens specifically, because we do get a lot of questions about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a few things. Every brand is going to vary on what their shelf life is. Typically, generally, we'll see about a 2-year shelf life with most skincare products. Sunscreen will usually be a little bit longer because there aren't quite as many active ingredients in it. However, something that's really interesting, if you look on the back of a product bottle, this could be any product bottle, it's probably hard to see here, there will be a little container and it'll have a number inside of it. So our face shield flex says 12 months. Now, the interesting thing about all of the products we reviewed today is that they actually don't have an expiration date, which means they passed a 3-year stability testing. So these products, they don't have an expiration date, but from the moment you open it, you want to use this product within a year so that you're getting the full efficacy. If you have a sunscreen or any product or skincare product that has expired, we do recommend you replace it, just because we want to make sure you're getting that full efficacy. We don't want to risk not getting the full protection that you need out of that product.
Awesome. Thank you. We had a lot of people ask about SPF protection for the lips. Does Colorescience have a solution for that?
We do. So Colorescience has a lip shine. It's a hydrating SPF 35 product. It has peptides, vitamin E. It's got a lot of great ingredients in it. It's an SPF 35. You can also always, there's a lot of options of when I do my brush, I get over my lips too, just because I want to make sure that I'm protecting everything and getting that reapplication, but the lip shines are also a great option.
Sorry, I was talking screens. I apologize.
You're fine.
Let me toggle back here. Let's see. Oh, any recommendations for a face sunscreen for someone who has been through chemo or radiation and still has fragile skin?
Absolutely. So I would recommend a physical sunscreen in that aspect. So fragile skin, whether your skin is sensitive or post chemo and radiation, our skin can be very reactive, and anything new could cause a reaction, redness, rashes, things like that. So a physical or mineral sunscreen is going to be the most gentle on it, and something that's going to be lightweight. So as far as Colorescience goes, I would say that the No-Show would be a good option, because it does have calming ingredients to it. It's very lightweight, it's very hydrating. But in general, a physical sunscreen would be great, so that we're working with that sensitivity.
When in your skincare regimen should you apply Total Eye?
Perfect question. So I apply, anytime I'm applying eye products, those are going first before anything. However, we kind of have to think of how things are applied in order of whether it's a colorless or color product. So because Total Eye does have SPF and it is color, you want to get through your full skincare routine. And when you would get to the point of applying your sunscreen, which goes before any makeup, you would apply Total Eye first, and then you would follow up with your face shield in either Flex or No-Show. So Total Eye before those.
Perfect. And while we're on the topic of Flex, we had someone ask if there are any key differences between face shield and Flex.
The Face Shield Classic and Flex. So the only difference between them are the finish that they give to the skin. So Face Shield Classic was our best solution at a colorless option before we were able to come out with the No-Show, which we're so excited about. So the Face Shield Classic, I actually love mixing it with I love mixing them all together. You can really wardrobe them and have a customized look with your sunscreen, which is great. But they'll just give different finishes. This will give you buildable coverage. That would just be very, very lightly tinted.
Awesome. And then we have actually had a lot of questions about how to use your sunscreens with a makeup primer, and maybe which one goes first.
Absolutely. So we're always going to put sunscreen on before we put any sort of makeup or priming products on, because we want to make sure our sunscreen, our skin is getting protected, and it almost can work kind of like a primer before you put those products on. The only difference would be the brush, because this is a powder and it's reapplication. This would go after everything.
Okay, and then 2 more questions I think we have enough time for. Best facial sunscreen for dry aging skin.
Dry aging skin. So you'll want to look for something that is lightweight. Just in general, there are anti-aging sunscreens. I know I've heard people ask about, we've got the whipped foundation that has an SPF in it as well, and that has peptides in it, which is great for anti-aging. But if you have dry skin, you want a hydrating sunscreen. Now, what's unique about the brush that I failed to mention, it does have a hyaluronic acid powder. So if you're worried about using a powder on dry skin, you don't have to worry about that with the brush, because it will still be hydrating to your skin, just in a powdered form. But honestly, any of the sunscreens we spoke about today would be fantastic. For any of my dry skin friends and family, I've been recommending whatever sunscreen of ours that they've been using, add the No-Show into it because it's extra hydrating.
And then the last question is, we had a lot of questions about how to properly clean the sun forgettable brush, and also what to do to if your brush clogs.
Absolutely. So depending on your skin type too, if you have more oily skin, you may notice that your brush will clog more often. This is a big reason why we don't have refills anymore for the brush, because we want to make sure you're using a clean product on your skin. What's great is that the bristles, they are antimicrobial, but at the same time, you can see this is a brush that I use that it's naturally going to stain because of the product that's inside of it. But there's a few ways. So one, you can use an alcohol-based spray, like a makeup brush cleaning spray with a washcloth, spray it onto a clean washcloth and wipe it. Or we have these brush cleansing wipes. And what's great about these is that it's just a single use wipe that you'll unfold. And I like to just really saturate my brush in it, wipe it around maybe for 30 seconds or so. And then the important piece is leave that brush out overnight and let it dry, so that do this before you go to bed. That way those bristles will dry so that you don't have any product getting trapped and getting stuck. But you really want to just kind of spend some time on the tops of those bristles, and that'll really help keep it from getting clogged.
Awesome. And let's see, I think there was one more question, which was my favorite, from Jocelyn. She asked, how is your brand so amazing?
Oh, well, thank you so much. We've got an amazing R&D team that spends, like I mentioned, it took us 3 years to develop the No-Show. We don't want to launch anything until it's absolutely perfect in our eyes. And truly, we want an option for everybody. We don't want anybody to not have protected skin that they love using the products on. So we're not stopping here. We're going to keep working our best to be, as inclusive and everything that we can do to have an option for everyone. So we appreciate that and appreciate how amazing you all are.
If anybody has any other questions that they need to have answered about Colorescience products, we have an amazing customer care team who would love to get those answered for you. And you can just contact them at customercare@lovelyskin.com. Alex, I want to again thank you so much for your time. I learned so much. Like, it was an amazing presentation, and I hope we can do this again sometime.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and thank you to an amazing team and amazing people. You guys are wise beyond your years. So just thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon.